Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Cool. People are here. So, first of all, Happy New Year. Happy 2024. This is my first webinar in English, first webinar this year, actually. Um, and I'm so happy to be here. So, yeah, I think the comments work. If you can, say hi in the comments and let me know where you came from. And I'm so excited to be to be starting this, to be starting the year with more productivity, with the good you know tried tips and tricks, but with a better twist, with a modern twist. And I'm happy to serve you with some really great content here. So again, happy 2024. uh Happy thanks from Tennessee, Alberta, Canada, Kentucky, Michigan, Iowa. Wow, perfect. Oh, so good to see you all. um um oh, there's from Poland, Ukraine, UK. Perfect. So we are from all over the world. We chose a time that's good. I think good for the for even for California, Santa Cruz, Texas, Colorado. Perfect from the States, and also from Europe. It's the afternoon in Europe, but I have good lights, so you don't see that. All right, so let's get to it. Let's get started. Um, uh, Again, this is the first webinar in 2024. Happy New Year's. Let's make this 2024 our best year ever. And to do it, let's learn some good productivity tips and tricks. My name is Michael Sliwinski. I'm the founder and CEO of Nozbe. And Nozbe is our app that we've been running for 17 years now. 17 years, so quite a while, and we're still kicking. And we've been helping busy professional and smart business owners and their teams to get their business and life and personal life organized in one simple way, in one simple app. And this webinar today is not about Nozbe. It's about 10 steps to ultimate productivity. There will be some Nozbe references in there, of course, but the key is to give you advice that you can apply right away, um, quickly, and start having the best year of your life. All right, so let's switch to slides now. There we go. I'm gonna lower myself, and I'm gonna just play with this here. All right, um, so again, I'm the founder of Nozbe, and Nozbe is the simple way to get things done. And we'll talk about Nozbe as a reference. And then this webinar, this course, is based on, well, loosely inspired on my book, 10 Steps to Ultimate Productivity, which is already sold out. But if you write email to our Nozbe support, they will send you an ebook PDF, so you can get this for free on my tab. And but the 10 steps I have changed a little bit. I have altered a little bit for this webinar. I have modernized the course. So this is today, what you're listening to is the newest version, the best version. And I am myself a disorganized optimist. So if you're like me, if you think that this course is only for these people who are so well organized, well, no, this course is for everyone who just wants to get things done better, who just wants to learn some tips and tricks. Especially like in I have a wife and I have 3 kids. I have 3 daughters, and my wife is the organized person in our duo. I am the person who's usually disorganized. That's why I need the tips and tricks. I need the tools. I need the devices. I need all these things to help me, get things done better. So if you're like me, if you are struggling with some things, this webinar, this is for you. So as a bonus, we'll start with my favorite bonus. So it's a 2-minute rule. So basically, if there is anything you can do in less than 2 minutes, do it now. This is a 2-minute rule from Getting Things Done book by David Allen, and it's fantastic. Like, if you think, oh, I should put this into calendar, put it in the calendar right now. It's going to take you less than 2 minutes to pull up the calendar and just write things down, or just, put it on your smartphone. If you think, oh, I should send this person this message, just send the message. Send a short message and just do it. Like, don't write a task about sending a message if the message is short. Of course, if you want to write something longer to this person, then write a task. But other than that, just do it. So less than 2 minutes, just do it. And as a bonus, I would like to also share my variation on this rule, which is, if you have a big thing to tackle, big problem, then there is a 2 hours rule. But we'll talk about it in the end of the show. So anyway, that's true. Somebody's mentioning in the comments that sometimes a message can take longer. When it starts to take longer, then write it down as a task and do it now or do it later. But usually, I mean, you cannot underestimate what you think you can do in 2 minutes. I am the optimist, so I should know that not everything can be done in 2 minutes, but many things can. All right, so the first rule, the first step in this course is to write everything down. So if you haven't done it in 2 minutes, then the idea is to write everything down. And the problem is that many times we believe that we can keep things on our mind. I'm going to just remember that, right? I'll just keep it in my mind. So I always say, if you have too many things on your mind, you're doing it wrong. You just shouldn't have anything on your mind. Like, you should know where it is. You should have it in your trusted productivity system, in your task manager, in your in your notebook, in your calendar. You should put things right away. And I can tell you, I have learned this rule very well, so well that if I decide to skip it and remember something, I just hear it just going away. I just hear it; it's gone, like that, right that moment. So I don't trust myself to think to remember things on my mind. I always write them down. Actually, later, if you ask me on social media, I can send you a post. Send you to my blog posts where I just do lots of tricks. Even have a special note-taking app on my watch just to make sure that I can write things down quickly. And I have a special shortcut to add tasks to Nozbe right from my watch if I'm running. Because even if I'm running and I have this idea, I just want to write it down, because then it's just going to be gone in a few steps. So remember about that. Write everything down. And David Allen of Getting Things Done. So this is me with David Allen. I remember he did this training with us when I signed up for his training, and he showed us how it is in practice, like how many things we keep on our mind. And I encourage you to do that too. Later, I will explain to you how this exercise works. But I remember meeting him. Like, he showed us, like, the Getting Things Done was the blueprint to show us that writing things down and not keeping things on your mind is the key to better productivity. And just one more thing, that this photo was taken like when I was just 1 year in developing Nozbe, so like 16 years ago. And it was an honor to meet Getting Things Done, originator David Allen, when I was just a big fan. So how writing things down happens in business, so in a team. The idea is that you should also have designated places where you write things down for your team, for your people. So like a designated shared project. Like, for example, we have that in marketing, that whenever we have marketing ideas, we put them in the same place. So if Evelina, who is here, or me, or Magda from our team, they have some marketing ideas, they put them in the same place, in the same shared project, and then from there we work on these ideas. So this way, we write things down as an organization. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you designate places where not only you personally write things down, but also in the company, when you write things down, write ideas down. And then on Friday, when we have a weekly review, which we'll discuss a little bit later, then we go through these ideas and add feedback and post comments. And then we move them to tasks or projects. So really, having designated places where you store ideas for yourself and then for the team, it's really, really important. Now back to David Allen. So he did this exercise on this training that we should just take a piece of paper and list our commitments and everything that we think we have on our mind. So I urge you to write this down right now when you're listening to this, to do this exercise after this webinar. So after this webinar, just take a piece of paper and write everything that you have on your mind right now. You will be surprised how many things you have on your mind, and just compare them to the things that you have written in your productivity system, and you'll see that half of these things are are not in any place. They are not in the calendar. They are not in the to-do list, and they should be. So make sure to check this out. Make sure to try to do this exercise. You will be surprised. So to summarize, the principle is this: either you do something in 2 minutes, or if you don't, write it down in your productivity system and you know where it is. So you have to know where things are in your system. And also you have to know where your ideas come from and put them also in your correct place. Um, um, because some ideas, some things come very often as a form of an email or a messenger or a WhatsApp message, and then when they do, they have to be you have to put them somewhere where you can find them again, because when we have right now in this day and age, we have so many communication systems. Like 10 years ago, when I was doing this kind of webinar, I would say, remember about email zero or inbox zero. Now we have so many inboxes. We have WhatsApp, we have Facebook Messenger, we have iMessage, we have like Slack, like all these things. So it's really important to be, very mindful about the inboxes you have and all these things you have where you write the ideas and write things down. So it's really, really important to make sure that that you really know exactly where these things come from, where they are stored, and how you process them, especially now in this day and age when we are so busy. So second steps are the projects. So yeah, some things in this webinar are very similar to the Getting Things Done book, but just some of them, especially the basics are very similar, because when I started Nozbe, I focused on three things: on projects, next actions, and tasks. So that's why the beginning of this course is very similar to the Getting Things Done book, but then things go a completely different way. But anyway, projects. The idea is that lots of people treat projects as projects, really projects, and sometimes projects are completely different things for different industries, for different people, and we'll talk today about examples of projects. But the idea is that whenever you have to do something which is more complex, it's not a task, it might be a project. Sometimes it's just a task with a checklist, which is fine. But sometimes, very often, you have to treat it as a project. And there are many, many types of projects. So let's go through them. So I have a completely, very flexible, 17 years running Nozbe, having to do with so many industries. Like Nozbe is being used by teams and companies and busy professionals from just all the industries. I'm lucky that I get to meet all these people, and it's fantastic. So some customers treat like places as projects because there are so many tasks to be done in these places. Like here, the apartment at 7 Flower Street, right? This apartment requires several tasks, maintenance tasks maybe. Then there are some people and some companies that use projects as shifts. Every shift, like there is a morning shift and there is an afternoon shift, and they have to perform certain tasks, and maybe very recurring tasks. So for them, these are projects. Lawyers that use Nozbe, and we have many lawyers using Nozbe, because of our security, encryption, and GDPR, they prefer to use Nozbe for security. They use very often projects as just clients. So they have just client name as a project, or case name, or by cases. And each case is a project. Each case has to be solved, or each client has several like small issues or small things. We have customers who use Nozbe, for example, real estate agents. So for them, like, again, each property is a project. Some We have also insurance agents. So for them, each client, each customer is a project, because they might require different types of insurance and different types of things. And here, when you have a campaign, like we have a campaign, for example, for like a promotion of Nozbe or something like that, then it's a project. um, uh, and then also we have like a project which is like a gathering of tasks for marketing. So for loose marketing tasks, we put them in projects. So I am very flexible with the project name and project, how I treat projects, because I see that our customers are like this as well, because this helps them group tasks together that are around the common theme, property, client, and all that stuff. So this is how I would approach projects. And then now the question is also how many projects people should have. And from my experience, like the more, the better. Um, you don't always have to have projects, as you can see here on this screenshot. Some tasks can have a checklist. So for example, it's a task like I need to publish a blog post, and it just requires publishing here, just sending a tweet here, posting on this here. Like, so it can be a checklist. It doesn't have to be a whole project. But it depends how you want to approach this. um, for example, we have an entire project, and many customers of ours also, that when we have an onboarding of a new employee, or outboarding if the person leaves the company. So we have a whole project with whole list of tasks that we have to do to make sure that the person is outboarded or onboarded correctly. So again, how many projects, it depends on you, depends how you work. But basically, grouping tasks into projects is very useful, and it helps really get things done. So do that. And also, one more thing, we'll talk about it soon, is shared projects. That in also some projects can be shared in the team with company, and we'll talk about sharing and collaboration a little bit later in this webinar. But yeah, after you write things down, putting these tasks and then grouping them into projects helps you execute better and faster. So number 3, our third step, is about choosing your priorities. And there are two kind of different things that I have in mind. One is that on one hand, you have to make sure that you know what's your next action. So like in getting things done, like what's the next physical action that can move things forward. So this is one thing. But second, priorities are also things that, like, choosing in a project a task that's most important, that you should deal with now. So every time you start a new project, please carefully review a list of tasks within it, and then just see what's your priority, what's next, what should be moved next. And how to move it, how to move the project forward. What's the next action, or what's the main thing here, like what should we focus on. And to give you an idea, mm, very often I choose the smallest actions, the smallest things, because I like the power of small wins. So whenever I have a big thing going on, like this webinar, for example, um, I have to admit, I was procrastinating a lot on getting this webinar ready, this presentation ready. I was, I was doing everything I could, not to work on the presentation, even though the deadline, the today was looming. I was like trying to do different things. But then when I just sat down and started writing the editing the document. Magda from Nozbe prepared for me the outline that I worked on my outline, and then I worked on her, on what she prepared for me, and I just started just typing and reviewing and editing. And when I just got got through the first slide, I was like, oh, this is good. And then I got to the second slide, and then the third slide, and I was like, okay, now I get the things rolling. So I remember a few days back, I started finally, like, I got the momentum. So very often the small win uh, is the priority you should be taking. I know is something that you should be considering. Like, you have a big project might seem overwhelming, might seem that it's not doable. Oh, it's so hard to do. But then you're like, okay, I'm gonna start with this, and then you start with this, and then it just keeps going. So for example, also the main advice is that when you start a day, you should start with your biggest tasks. And it's true, we'll talk about it, but sometimes you should start with a smaller task to get yourself going. So and this is the like kind of the principle, because there is this anecdote that when you have a jar, and and there is this professor who had a jar, and he was in front of his students, he was putting stones in the jar, and he started with the big ones, and then smaller ones, and then the sand in the end. And the question was, what did I do right? And they were like, yeah, if you put the big stone first, then you have place for the smaller stones. But if you start with the sand and smaller stones, then there is no place for the big stones. So it's like an anecdote that also like is the one that resembles the one from Brian Tracy, that eat that frog. So you should like start your day with the biggest task. But I would say prepare your biggest tasks, but start with something smaller, with the small wins first, and then proceed to the biggest task. But never forget what's the biggest task for today. And for me, I like the focusing question from the book One Thing. Um, what's the one thing you can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And this question is really powerful, because you think, okay, something really meaningful, like something that when I do that, everything else will be, you know, easier or unnecessary. Amazing. So, uh, even though working on a one thing is important, I usually have to admit that I am breaking this rule, that I usually schedule like to three main things, one things for a day. So I'm an overachiever, so I do apologize, but very often I do plan to three things, but not more, because otherwise they're not, they're just too many things to focus on. So, but I usually start to try with the one thing. So with the one that makes everything else easier or unnecessary. So so again, to 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 summarize our step 3, find your next actions. Establish every day like your one thing, or or up to 3 one things, and always start with the big rocks. And but very often, to warm up, start with something smaller and then proceed to the big rocks. Always never forget that you have to do the big ones, to make sure that, because there are always so many things to do every day. There are just so many things to do. So if you don't focus on the big ones, at the end of the day, you will be like, oh, I didn't do much today. But if you have accomplished one, two, or three big things, you'll be like, okay, well, it was a good day. Yes, I haven't finished to do everything, but it was a good day. So remember about that. And additional piece of advice: don't be so hard on yourself. Really, even if you just, out of the 3 things, you just do 2, it's still a good day. All right. So now let's focus on technology, my favorite part. I'm a geek. I'm a technology geek. So, but when you think about it, many many people, and for many people, the technology is something that they are afraid about, are afraid of. And to them I always tell that paper is great, but paper doesn't synchronize with anything. um, well, unless you have a paper that does synchronize, but I digress. So it's important to really embrace the technology, and very often I see that in like very successful professionals who just go old school, which is great, but then they forget that very often the technology would really help them go forward. And I think now that we are past COVID, we were all forced to work from home. I mean, in my company everybody works from home. We are a close to 20 people company, and we all work from home remotely. We've been doing that all our company life, all our 17 years. And but now people see that technology is great right now. The smartphones are just really smart and really powerful. And basically, with a in your smartphone you have access to everything if you design it like this. And this is the key: you should consciously design it like this. So to me, cloud is the new office. Cloud is the office. um, I'm right now writing this book called No Office. Work is not a place to go, it's a thing you do. And in that book, coming hopefully this year, in that book, I explain that uh, the physical office is just a tool, because the main office is the cloud, because then everybody's on the same level. Everybody can access the same information. Everybody has access to the same tools. And this is the key. I'm running company from my iPad. I have my iPad and I'm running my company from my iPad. And here in my office where I'm recording this webinar from, there's nobody here. I'm alone. My colleague Evelina, she's like 3,000 miles away, and but we are in touch all the time and we work together. So yeah, cloud is the new office, and that's why it's important to really embrace the cloud and embrace all these tools that give you access online to all the information. But also it's important to keep in mind the security of your data. So here I'm on this slide I'm showing you some best practices and how to keep the data safe. Of course, the common thing: use longer passwords and different for each service. Now the new thing, the passkeys are coming. So hopefully we'll also support them soon in Nozbe. So this way you will be able to really just authenticate with your face, with your Face ID or with your thumb if you have Touch ID. Safe passwords, in good safe places like iCloud Keychain or 1Password. In our company, we use 1Password to have all the passwords of our company passwords, and always use the two-factor authentication. So when you have access to online data, you have to authenticate with your device. This way, even if somebody steals your password, they won't be able to access your data, because they will need your device. So this is really important. And on your device, please change your passcode to like a word instead of just 123 or 111, because really your passcode is very powerful. Here, my colleague Evelina is on the slide. Um, like the When I started Nozbe was for as desktop uh, application. Now I can use Nozbe on my iPad. I can use here in the background. I'm using also Dropbox Paper to edit document while I'm at the same time on a Zoom call, video conferencing with Evelina. It's amazing. It's amazing what you can do with all these online collaboration tools. How the data is being synced, is being backed up, and how we can all access this. How we can work together even though we are 3,000 miles apart. It's important that really we set it up correctly, so this way the magic can happen. So to summarize, the step 4 is technology. It's embrace technology. So set up access to your data from anywhere. So use apps on all the platforms. take advantage of online collaboration tools, and don't take security for granted, and use good passwords and 2FA, so or MFA, to make sure that you're safe. All right, so we've been through 4 steps now. First, writing things down. Second, managing project. Third, to priorities. And fourth, working with technology to make sure that we have the latest technology to help us get things done. And now let's have some people to help us get things done, because even solopreneurs need a helping hand. There is a book which I recommend. The title of the book is um, Who, Not How. So very often to do something, to be good at something, instead of like practicing this, you should just hire a person who's just good at this. Hire a professional, hire an expert. And this is the same way. Um, like when I started Nozbe, people were used to working alone or working more alone. Now we are so connected that we should take advantage of it. We should take advantage of just being that connected. The virtual assistants are so easy to get. There are actually virtual assistants who are using Nozbe a lot, that we know of. And the collaboration is much easier. And as I said, you can work with somebody who's like 3,000 miles apart, no problem. So, but when you work, I'm going to move this a little bit. So there we go. So the key to good online collaboration, the key why our company Nozbe is thriving, even though we don't have one office, even though we are miles apart, is that we practice what we call asynchronous work. Asynchronous work, it means I do some work, I post it, and then I ask for feedback, and then somebody in their time writes the feedback and then sends it back to me. So this is asynchronous, so that this is not real time. So we do that. We also meet, of course. We talk, as you have seen in the previous slide, that I am talking to my people from marketing and like from the other departments. But our key is that we work practically asynchronous work. So it means to collaborate effectively, we work individually much more. So we focus on our work, and then we ask for feedback. And then also the feedback, we write it, thoroughly first. And then once we get the feedback loop going, we sometimes meet to just iron out the details or maybe talk about some nuance. But the key is asynchronous work. It's maybe not a sexy phrase, but it's very effective, and it's very effective for working together. And people always ask me, Michael, how do you motivate your programmers to program better? How do you motivate them to work better? Because I have some trouble, with my programmers and whatever. And I'm like, okay, so how many meetings do you have with your programmers? Oh, so we have this meeting, this status meeting, this. I'm like, okay, cancel these meetings. So this is for me the most important thing. I mean, people in Nozbe, we like half of Nozbe is basically engineers. They love working at Nozbe because they love that they have so few meetings and they have so much time for asynchronous work. They can just deliver results. Here Nagrok is asking about the pair programming. The pair programming is a great concept, but my developers prefer to work alone. So what happens is, again, there is the feedback loop. They just send some work and they make a pull request, which means they ask for feedback and then they get feedback from the other programmer. So they prefer this kind of work. I heard good things about pair programming, but usually this is not what we do, and it's not what we do, especially at a distance. All right, so so again, number of meetings, just cancel the meetings. Why do you need a status meeting if you can have a status task with the status, so everybody can read that? There is no need for a meeting. There is no need to show off. We say at Nozbe that meetings should be regular, optional, and well prepared. So regular meaning every meeting that we have is at the same time, in the same in the same room, in the same Zoom room in our case. um, and it's optional. So if we decide not to have it or we don't have an agenda for it, we cancel it. And well prepared, so we do prepare agenda. Like we have, for example, our marketing meeting every Tuesday, and for this meeting we don't need a very specialized agenda, because we meet just to hang out for like half an hour, maybe an hour together, just to make sure that we are on the same page, that we are a team. But then if we have, for example, a design meeting, if there is no agenda for design meeting, it's being canceled, because we need to have tasks and comments and everything prepared before the design meeting, so that everybody comes to the design meeting prepared. So that's why we have fewer meetings. um, so there we go. uh, Step 5, working with team. The key is to work asynchronously. So we try to add everything to our task management system, and group tasks in projects and share them with the team. And we set priorities and next actions together. And again, we use online services, we use cloud to work together, so that everyone has access to the information. So some of the questions that are coming, please keep the questions coming. I'll answer at the end of the webinar. If some questions, if they're just relevant to what I'm saying, I might answer now, but keep the questions coming. Completely, we'll have a Q&A session after the main content. So let's keep going. Number 6, batch tasks to work faster. Working in batches is really, really efficient. Doing like cranking, emails, cranking things is very efficient. And in Nozbe, we use tags to tag tasks together. In getting things done, David Allen was introducing a concept called contexts, but we prefer tags. It's more flexible, people understand it better, and also it can be anything you want. It can be emails to send, it can be phone calls to make, content to write, things to buy, or even just a status or something that conveys a similarity and helps you just work on these things together. So in Nozbe, for example, what we do is like we use a status tag for some tasks that this way we know what's going on. We know who's working on what, and we can for me as a CEO, I can just go through status tasks in our Nozbe features and see where my feedback is needed, how things are going. To me, for example, what I like about batching is that very often in one place I can just write a blog post and write or several drafts. In another place, I prefer to engage in social media. So this way, I can just, depending on the place, I can engage in different actions, in different tasks, get things done. But also, it's all about like trying to crank things down if you can. And like sometimes after lunch, I prefer to just go all through all the emails. Some email I'll just respond, some email I'll put as a task. Again, batching is very efficient, and to me, it's like additional feature when one thing is to group tasks in projects, but second is to group them through the projects, throughout different projects, and just make sure that you have all the relevant information. Or where you go shopping, you can go shopping and you can check all the things you have to buy throughout all your projects. So batching is really really important, and really a cool way to be more efficient and to just also have this sense of accomplishment. All right, so number 7, manage documents. Documents, by documents I mean non-actionable items, so things that reference, things that you have to have. And this is something that right now, again, in 2024, it's easier than ever. Like it used to be it used to be really hard. You had to have scanners, or to scan documents, and not anymore. And and also, back in the day, um, you know um, even the many establishments, many offices, and many institutions, they required you to submit paper documents. Everything had to be through paper. Now paperless is the future. Like, when you can see all this desk here, these are all the documents that arrived at my desk on a Friday. So I just take my phone and scan the documents, and scan them, and put them away. um, which is, it's amazing. Like, this way, I can search them. I can find the relevant information. Just the other day, I was at the with my daughter. I was at the pediatrician, and she asked us about my daughter's uh, uh, last visit, how much she weighed at that time, how big she was, and all that stuff. I could just very quickly find it on my phone and just tell her, yeah, so last visit was then, and she was like this, and she just grew 5 centimeters. When did that happen? So I can see all that information. The same way, uh, like everything that comes, like all the invoices, all these things now, uh, thankfully, they're online, they're coming online. But still, if they're coming as a paper, choose the online option if you can, or just scan them and forget, and then they're saved in your system, and you can get to them very quickly. So paper is the past. Paper is great, but in the end of the day, it's better to have access to the information faster through scanning. And also, something which already we mentioned, work on documents online. Uh, Thanks to the online tools, you can collaborate with Google Docs, Dropbox Paper, and also GitHub for programmers. So online tools are just amazing, because one thing is they store information. You can store your documents there, but also you can collaborate there. Um, and encryption is another thing. I mentioned security in the in previous points, but encryption is really important. Um, the Like in Nozbe, for example, if you upload an attachment to a task, it's being encrypted on our servers. Um, this way, even lawyers prefer to use Nozbe because they know that the files will be encrypted. So if someone would ever have access to these files through some strange means to our servers, it would be gibberish because they are encrypted. So only people who have access to this project, to this task, can decrypt the attachment. That's why, again, lawyers prefer to use Nozbe. But this is really important because you don't want to just put your data anywhere, like to any service. But most trusted services, like Nozbe, like Dropbox, many other services, they use encryption, and that's why it's really important that you keep your data safe. But having them accessible from any device, from the smartphone, like, this is key. This is really good. So um, make a habit of scanning documents. Make a habit of just and then get rid of them. Like, um, uh, if you get paper letters or paper documents, scan them and shred them. I have a document shredder. Also, I recommend getting one. They're cheap, in my home office, and I shred the documents constantly. I just only keep really important documents for some reference in physical form, but usually I just don't. I just scan them away. And this is the best way. And then put them, and then the most important ones that I want to have access in the future. For example, I add them online to our Nozbe projects, to our Nozbe tasks. This way, I can share these documents with my team. Even when I have meetings with my customers, with Nozbe customers, I take notes, and I do like handwritten notes, so I do take notes. But then I scan these handwritten notes and attach them to our task. So this way, my team can see my notes. Uh, like, again, digital is the future, and remember about the encryption. It's important that your stuff is encrypted. All right, so we're getting closer to the end. The eighth step in our productivity course is about reviewing our system, and it's about the habit of a weekly review. Um, some people joke that that a weekly review should be done at least once a month, which is a stretch, but you should on a regular basis review your system, review your tasks, review your projects, review your files, and we'll talk about that. So at Nozbe, we have Mighty Fridays. In Mighty Fridays, on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Thursday, we work on Nozbe tasks, and then Friday is for our weekly reviews and for our personal development. So I do encourage, if you go to nozbe.com/Friday, you will learn more about it. I recommend going there. We introduced Mighty Fridays because we realized that we need to up our game. We need to study. We need to learn more. We need to have better skills with our tools, with our software, with everything. And there is no time for that during normal working hours. So this way, people are just more at ease knowing that they can work really, really hard, really a lot from Monday to Thursday, and on Friday they have time for weekly review, which cleans everything and then makes them, gets them prepared for a better week. And then also they can focus on personal development, on development on their skills. They have time to read these articles they wanted to read, or go through online conferences, or watch a webinar like this one on a Friday. This way they can really learn and up their productivity game. So I do encourage you to try Mighty Fridays, and yeah, and see how it works for you. We've been featured in many magazines, in Forbes and other magazines, because we work like that. But uh, and we've been doing that for many years now, and I haven't seen any slowness in the way we work. Quite the contrary. We're getting better because many things are being, we are upping our game on a Friday, focusing on our skills. So how to do a good weekly review? To me, there are just a few steps. First, you go through calendar, which is important to just see what's really going on, like what happened this week, what's going to happen next week, what have I committed to, and then all the incoming tasks, new ideas, feedback, everything that's coming, and then reviewing all my projects and tasks. And after that, some cleanup in the office, computer, reviewing my stats, goals, weekly, monthly, to make sure that I am still committed to my goals and that my goals are still relevant. So whatever I'm doing next week is tied to my goals, and it's not just something because I just want to do it, or because I go with the flow. So again, a weekly review, what it does, it helps you really focus on just on stopping and reviewing what you're doing to prepare yourself for a good week. Whenever I'm not doing a good weekly review, next week is worse. I can tell you that. So really, this is something, and this is a meeting that we have to do with ourselves. So very often we are very quickly to reschedule it. We should think about it as a meeting with this other person, with the other Michael. This way, um, we would treat it as serious as meeting with anyone else. So make sure to do it. And also, with a weekly review, uh, I would suggest having it at the same place at the same time every Friday. That's why, again, it's more effortless. It's easier to do, because you're like, okay, so every Friday I go to this cafeteria and have some coffee, and then I go do my weekly review for an hour. I get my croissant as a reward for a good weekly review, and then I can go on with my day. So try to make the weekly review effortless, to make it a regular habit, a regular thing that you do. This way you get prepared for next week. So in the original 10 steps book, I was talking about how to handle email. This time I'm telling you not to use email at all. Okay, so of course we still use email. Email is good, but email is good for handshakes, but not to work. That's why, for example, if you work with somebody, don't email them. So I'm always telling companies and businesses, to not use email internally. We don't use email at Nozbe. I mean, my email is michael@nozbe.com, but nobody emails me from Nozbe. People from the outside email me, but nobody emails me from Nozbe because they know that we have projects, we have tasks, the information goes there directly. So um, let's let's just review why email is bad for collaboration. First of all, people just abuse the CC and BCC fields. They just think that everybody has to know. So, and then people who have to know, the all saints, the directors and the executives, very often they have a rule that whenever they're CC'd, they just it filters out, so they don't actually see these messages. So it's like it's people try to be safe, so they send to everyone. And then second thing, they want to be effective, they want to be productive and save time, so they put numerous things in one email. Whereas when you have tasks and you have comments to these tasks, the comment is relevant to this task, and that's it. You don't write a comment about several tasks at once. And then, to me, as a security person and person who has a virtual office in the cloud, security is important, and email is not secure. Email is completely unencrypted, and that's why I'm saying that lawyers use Nozbe, because the same lawyers used to send very confidential documents via email, which is ridiculous, because if it's a confidential document, don't send it via email. Use an Nozbe task, or use an online secure encrypted platform for that. And then the worst part is that because it's 2024, we receive so much email that very critical, very important messages are being mixed with just normal messages or unimportant messages. So it's really hard to manage. Whereas if you have a system, if you have projects, tasks, and comments, it's just easy to find anything and just work on that. So instead of email me, say to somebody, task me. So create a task for me. This is the new way. This is the future. Create task for me, and this way you can be mentioned in a task. You can participate in a task. You are exchanging tasks and not emails. And this is a funny part, because very often I hear from our customers, and especially their team members, is like, so can I create a task for my boss? Like, isn't that supposed to be the other way around? The boss creates the task for me, and not, I mean, this is blunt, right? This is not good, right? So one of the things of modern companies is that we are more partner-like, and create a task for me is not telling them what to do, is just telling them that you want to ask them for something, or you need something from them, and the task is the best way. So it kind of levels the field, and I like it. And our customers who have who are accustomed to it right now love it. But of course, it was a learning curve for many people, for many employees, for many team members, to have the the agency to create a task for their superior, for their manager, for their boss. I can tell you, in my company, we use Nozbe to build Nozbe. So everything that we plan is in Nozbe. And yeah, I get tasks all the time, and I get mentioned in tasks, or I get just tasks that people just delegate to me. Hey, Michael, I need this, I need that from you. So it's normal, it's okay. And it's sometimes on the in your head. All right, so this is step 9: no email. So I advise you to ditch email in a team. Don't send emails to each other. Assign tasks to each other, and write good feedback in comments. So this is a key. Not just one phrase or whatever. Good feedback, a paragraph. Uh, um, my experience is that people become good writers when they work remotely, when they work like us, because they know that they have to write concisely. They have to really think about what they're going to write. But it's a great way to collaborate. And look for ways of moving away from email when contacting clients. And this is another thing that we are trying at Nozbe. We are trying to move past the fact we can only exchange tasks with our team. We want to try to exchange tasks with our contractors. So, well, I'll give you more examples just when I'm going to finish. So, the 10th step is just a suggestion to use an app like Nozbe or just directly Nozbe, where you can have this structure of projects, tasks, and comments, and you can easily add team members and work with other people. And this way, you have, the whole Nozbe concept supports all the 10 steps. So first, you write stuff down and you write in tasks and comments in projects. You organize everything in projects. You set priorities. Uh, Nozbe syncs in the cloud and is available on all the platforms from all the devices. Um, and then on the other hand, we have, team projects, so we can share projects with each other. Um, and as you know, sharing is caring. There you go. And there are and then with tags, you can batch tasks, which is really great. And then we have encryption, so the files are really encrypted and safe and backed up. And it's easy to review what's going on. It's easy to review each other's tasks, each other's commitments, and make sure that everybody is on the same page. And there is no more email for collaboration. So um, it's um, it's really like the way. Um, Here, Joshua is saying, I really agree with this seminar. Thank you so much. Um, um, this is the modern way of working, which I mean, I believe a modern way of working. So it's not only that I stand by my tool Nozbe, but I also stand by this way of working, by this way of getting things done. You can use other tools, you can use different tools, but the whole idea of embracing all this for me is the key, and that's why I've created this webinar. So here, additional bonus that you should also try to avoid email with other people who are working with you. So very often, you should try to get them to your productivity system. Many productivity systems, like Nozbe, enable you to work with external people. Like for example, in our case, when we have external contractors, we have joint projects with them. So we have a project with them, and this one project is our bridge, how we exchange tasks and comments. Um, in Nozbe now, there is a new feature. It's that you can actually send a task to anyone in the world with an email address. So we can task people directly from Nozbe. And this is, for example, how we coordinate many things in Nozbe, how we talk to our podcast guests, how we talk to people who provide us with services. Our When we were hiring accountants, we told them, guys, we want to hire you. You look great, but we will work through projects in Nozbe. That's it. That's our a prerequisite, and it's glorious. Like we send documents through Nozbe, so it's also encrypted and secure. We don't email them anything, and this is like a new way, a new modern way, and just make sure that we have access to all this information. So if you can, again, email is good for handshakes, but after a handshake, collaboration should be done with a digital tool, with a cloud tool like Nozbe or something similar. This way, you can really work together faster and more efficient. So, in our case, this is the key. This is why people use Nozbe. Here is a testimonial of Paul. A huge number of emails overwhelmed us. That's where Nozbe came in handy. We discovered the joy of checking tasks off, which is again the joy of just getting things done. And this takes the work to a whole new level. So, if you would like to know more about Nozbe, you can schedule a demo. Magda will be happy to walk you through. So just go to nozbe.com/demo. And now the official part of this webinar is done. So I'm going to take questions and I'm going to answer some of your questions. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this time, and I hope you'll have a very productive, very good 2024. And you'll get lots of stuff done, the stuff that you really care about, that's really important, and you will be more equipped with things that with tools and ideas how to improve some small things in your life, in your business life and personal life, to have more work-life balance, yet be very efficient with whatever you do. Okay, I'm gonna pick up some questions. So all right, let me Uh, Sometimes you think that message is the 2 minutes only, but when it's right, it's 30 minutes. That's so Stepan, that's true. But again, if something takes more time than 2 minutes, then you should either finish it or recognize, okay, this is not a fast thing. I'm going to schedule it for later. I'm going to create a task for it and just deal with it later. This is what I would do. Yes, Nozbe has a great integration with Evernote. We don't use Evernote anymore. I stopped using Evernote a while ago. Uh, so we store documents mainly now in Nozbe and in Dropbox. But now mainly Nozbe now, because in Nozbe we have good preview. Right now we just introduced preview of PDFs directly in the app, so we don't have to download the PDF to go through it. So we basically prefer to have the documents directly attached to the files. I mean to the tasks. What we do when we have a longer writing, then we do write in Google Docs or Dropbox paper, so like a long form documents, and then we just link to them through Nozbe. We still are used to Dropbox paper for some reason, so we write there long form writing and attach the link to the task. Um, Working alone makes the feedback loop longer and blocks developers to make bigger change because she is not sure if it's a good decision. Yeah, that's why it's really important to get the hang of it, of to recognize when um, um, uh, when you have like asynchronous work. So you do something and you ask for feedback, and when you just decide, let's talk about it. So very often, what happens is that whenever I work on something, I ask for feedback and I get some feedback from somebody. I'm like, hey, Elena, let's go on a call for like 10 minutes and discuss this. And then we go on a call, which is so easy to do now with all these applications like Zoom, and we discuss the thing. And then this moves us forward, and this we get the nuance and we continue working. So this is also what I encourage in my developers, that they work alone, work on things asynchronously, but then later go to each other and really discuss for 10-15 minutes something to make sure that the nuance is clear, and then they can move forward. And also we have this thing that um, uh, we're humans and we like human contact. So just talking for 5 minutes, 10 minutes just gets us motivated to continue working on a task. Robert, the three advantages of Nozbe: numerous ways to see all tasks and projects. Yes, that's true. Same layout on all platforms. Yes, we really care about that. And two-way sync with Google Calendar is best in the market. The more we use it, the more we love Nozbe. Thank you so much. Thanks for this, Robert. This is so true. People really like the Google Calendar synchronization. And I'm telling you, it requires lots of work. We have to maintain it very well. There were always lots of issues in the beginning, but the benefit of a Google Calendar integration is just amazing. This way, you can see, in a calendar context, what's going on. But for this future of Nozbe, we will be also improving our calendar in Nozbe Calendar better to make sure it works better. And we have more exciting plans for this year also for our app. So 2024 will be a very exciting year for Nozbe as well. Any thoughts you would like to share about the ideal physical workspace? I already got the mid-side standing desk. Okay, Rene. So if you have the standing desk, great. So I will Rene, I will just repeat what you just said here to everyone else who's still online. Yes, if you can have a stand-up desk, especially this company. I mean, there are many companies. I have also my site. A stand-up desk that goes electrically and has memory settings. I love it because, like just today, I was preparing for this webinar. I spent like half of the day standing. Then I sat down to do some work, and then I stood up again. I'm standing up right now. in front of you doing the webinar. I'm standing. So the stand-up desk is amazing. So that's the one thing I would recommend to anyone. And I just received some information from friends who, after me years of nagging them, they finally also got themselves stand-up desks. So that's the step one. Step two, for physical workspace, um, a big desk. So like a big one, because then you have place for your iPhone, for your chargers, for your keyboard, for your mouse, for your documents, for everything. Like a big desk is really crucial. Also, a good screen, a good monitor. I have a MacBook Air, but I don't use the MacBook Air monitor. I have a big 27-inch screen connected to my MacBook Air for this purpose, and I have my also place for my iPad here right next to me. Um, so that good light, also to make sure that, for example, like when you look at my hand, so on this side I have my window, so this way I have the sunlight coming on the side. This way my eyes are not so strained, because very often people put their monitors behind the windows, so it's a really big contrast between what you see on the monitor and what you see and the light coming in from the outside. So I was playing with this in many ways here in my home office, but in the end of the day, the way that I have it right now, that I have the natural light coming on the right side, but I'm looking at a screen which is and then after that I have the wall. It's just much better. So that's that's how I would recommend a good webcam. The one that I use is Logitech Brio. It's very good, and very good quality. So, and good microphone as well, because you'll be doing lots of virtual meetings, and good audio and good video is important. Okay, so I think I use this. First of all, on the iPhone, I sometimes use just in the Notes app. You can just scan documents. It's very good. So now I've been doing that a lot, especially if I need some documents like that I reference a lot. So for example, I have my driver's license and all my documents I have actually encrypted in the Notes app, in encrypted notes. So I scan them directly with the iPhone. I have this application called ScanBot, I think. Let me check. Swift Scan Pro. But with the scanning app, you have to watch out for some of them have like subscriptions and then weekly subscriptions, so you have to watch out for that. Swift Scan, I don't think it has it. I'm not paying any subscription on this, so I think it's good. And the way it scans my documents is that it not only scans the document but also tries to do OCR, so recognize the text, and then this way I can find the document easier. So, yeah. Do we have an internal agreement on how we name projects and tasks? Yeah. So, yeah, we do. And so, again, this is another thing. You reach these agreements later. So, in the beginning, you just create projects how you feel, and then you start reaching these agreements. So, I would encourage everyone, just learn from the way you're working, how you start naming things. So for example, in the beginning, we didn't name our marketing projects with anything. They were just like different projects. Then we realized some of these marketing projects are important, so we just grouped them together with, we can group projects together in a group. Then we realized, okay, so let's have this marketing project, for example, as our inbox, like step one, to have all the ideas coming. But let's have, for example, another marketing project for like early ideas we don't want to share with the whole team. So again, this all works like this. For example, when we work on features at Nozbe, every new feature at Nozbe is a new project, and then it belongs to a group of Nozbe features projects. So, and every project has a status task. And again, we get to it. We get to it through working together. So these internal agreements, they are being worked on. So I encourage everyone just to try something. So again, our customers, sometimes they use names of their clients as projects, sometimes they use cases, as I mentioned, and sometimes they just use numbers for things. Project number one, number two, number three. For some reason, they prefer numbers. um, Again, you work on this, and yes, we have internal agreements, and these internal agreements are being renegotiated all the time. Future question: when we forward tasks via email to Nozbe, we will ever be able to click the email task in Nozbe to go back to the email application to respond? In some applications, it actually works. I have to check. It works on Gmail for sure. So if you forward stuff from Gmail, you can open this thing in Gmail again. I have to check for other apps, but please email our support at nozbe.com. There's a friendly person right there on the other end. Will help you with that. Yes. Do you use Slack or Zulip or similar platforms? Yes, we still use, or does not be replace Slack or Microsoft Teams. Um, yes. um, Nozbe starts replacing Slack for us. We used to be actually paying customers of Slack. Now Slack is free up to 3 months, and then the messages disappear. So I told all the team, let's have free Slack, and if something disappears, it's our fault because it should be in a task in Nozbe. Um, and now, spoiler to everyone who stayed longer, we are working on not just being able to message each other through tasks in Nozbe, but having messages within Nozbe. So I told you we got new cool stuff coming this year. So yes, in the end, Nozbe should replace Slack in that sense that it's like more structured. You have projects, tasks, and comments, and then you have a way to connect and talk to your peers. So I think you don't need Slack then. That's my idea. But don't tell anyone. Doesn't task work makes us work like robots? With pair programming, we're looking for best solution, not just doing what we need to do. Um, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I don't think so. I don't think we're robots with tasks. But I like your idea of pair programming, that where you're looking for best solution and everything. Again, we haven't tried maybe remote work pair programming in that sense, but I think um, for our team, the asynchronous work, like you have work on a task, you write a comment, you ask for a comment back, you ask for feedback back, just works better for us, I think. But if you have good um, resources on pair programming where we should check, or what we should start, I'll give it a look and maybe nudge it to our CTO to check it out. But in our experience all these years, the asynchronous work of working on something and asking for feedback, but also making the frequency a little bit more. So you don't ask for feedback after a week. You ask for feedback after a few hours, after a day, like more frequent way. Also, another thing I didn't mention in the webinar is the fact that journaling is important. So journaling is a good habit. I on my personal blog, michael.team, there is a journaling shortcut that you can use. Now on the iPhone, there is a journaling app, but also we teach our team to journal in a way that, for example, once they have progressed on a task, they should write a comment on this task, even though the task is not done. They should write, "Hey, I was working on this, for 4 hours now, and I've progressed. I've moved this and this, but I'm still working on this." So it's not natural. Many people prefer to comment on a task when it's done, or when it's supposed to be done, or when it should be handed over. But journaling on a task keeps everyone in the loop, tells everyone what's the status. For me, using Nozbe and going through tasks, especially through these status tasks when people really journal well, it's like knowing what's going on, And for me, as the CEO of a company, not knowing what's going on is kind of embarrassing. And I don't like to ask people, "Hey, so what's the status of this? Hey, what's going on here? Hey, what's with this?" I prefer just to know. So, or just to open this project, open these tasks, and so now I know. And for me, this kind of transparency is key when we work. This is and this is what, what makes my work joy, is that I don't have to ask so much. I can then later ask in a comment, or maybe ask this person to talk for 5 minutes about some nuance. But I can just dive in, open a project, look at the tasks, open some tasks, read some comments, and I'm like, okay, I know where this thing stands. I can move on. So, question: if I have an API key for Cloud or ChatGPT, can I basically add the same way I add a team member? I'm not so sure. We haven't tried that, but we do. We are also working on AI integration with Nozbe. So stay tuned for that. We believe AI can really help you get stuff done better, or automate stuff that you don't have to think about. We have some cool ideas, but if you have cool ideas how to integrate AI with Nozbe, please send them to support@nozbe.com. We are listening to all the ideas, and we are trying new things. So we're experimenting. So we have nothing to promise yet, but we're working on this. We're flirting with AI a lot. Are there seminars for Nozbe users? Yes. So we will be introducing webinars for Nozbe users strictly. We have some in Polish already, and we've been trying, and now we will be also introducing soon. So please stay tuned. Once we're ready, we'll let you know. We're also working on new Nozbe tutorial, and then quite a few resources for Nozbe users, and also best practices. How do I email a task to someone outside Nozbe? Oh, Jean, glad you asked. In Nozbe, if you have a task and there is the person responsible for the task, you can click on it, and then you will see you can choose a person from your team, or if you don't have anyone, you will not be able to see that, but you will be able to see something else. Send the task via email, and then when you click on it, you just put an email address of this person, and they receive an email saying, hey, Jean wants to work with you on this task. Please open. And then all they have to do is click on the link, and the task opens. So they don't have to have a Nozbe account. They don't have to know what Nozbe is, basically. They will be able to open this one particular task and work with you. So it's very useful for subcontractors, for people that you just want. For example, again, you want an encrypted file. You want, send me the attachment, but don't send it via email. Send it via task. So this way you send them a task, and they upload the attachment using the Nozbe interface. So this way they get access to Nozbe without being a Nozbe user. Of course, later, if they become a Nozbe user, it's even better. It's more efficient, but they don't have to be. So again, open a task and change the responsibility to somebody with an email, and just put the email address. Try it out. Let me know how it works. And if you have any questions, again, ask us at support@nozbe.com. Don't you think that working together is more important than just scheduling tasks? Yeah, I mean, we are working together all the time. The question is how you work together. And I think this webinar was all about that. It was trying to give you all the ideas how you can work together, even if you're not in the same place. And I'm sure that the hybrid working will be the future. Like, people will not come back to the office full time at all. Like, I see that from all of my friends. I mean, of course, I'm biased. We've been working remotely all these years, and I prefer working remotely, even though I'm an extrovert. But people will choose to have the flexibility. Oh, I want to be a few days at work. I mean, in the office. A few days I want to be at home. I see that. I see that everywhere. Like, all of my friends who used to be diehard go to office people are like sharing with me, Michael, I love this thing. On Mondays I'm on the office, but then on Tuesdays I'm at home, and nobody nags me, and I can work on these things, and I can come back on Wednesday and have a coffee with somebody. So I think this is the way. So working together is important, but we should also be using these tools to work together. The way to collaboratively share tasks and schedule tasks, but also exchange comments, exchange, work on documents together, comment on paragraphs online. um, yeah, and there are so many new ways of working together. um, this is the future, and we should embrace it. And this way people can also, for me, the whole thing of being flexible, to work from the office or work remotely, is about also agency, and agency to really choose your lifestyle. Finally, I think people will be able to adjust work to their lifestyle and not their lifestyle to their work, which is like the other way around. Usually people would do everything to accommodate work. Now they can do the other thing. They can accommodate work to the way they want to live and the place they want to live. Like in my company, so many times I hired somebody who was living in, one place because they got a job there. And then later they were like, oh, no, no, no. So now that I work with you guys, I can move to my hometown, right? Or I can move to this town that I always wanted to live. Or like, I remember my favorite anecdote. Maybe some of you have heard it already. Magda, from our marketing team, when she got hired, she was like, "So there's no office? I'm not going to any office. This is ridiculous. There should be an office." After half a year, she's like, "Hey, can I move to France?" And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, I always wanted to live in France. Can I move to France?" So then I asked, the only question that was on my mind: do they have internet in France? And that's it. So, and she moved to France for 2 years, and we've been working, no problem. So it's like, for me, this is the future. For me, this is that you can, adapt work to your lifestyle, not the other way around. Oh, Michael, I love Mighty Friday. As the only employee of nonprofit organization, I have a standing Mighty Friday meeting. It's a great way to ensure the personal development time. Yes, we developed Mighty Fridays because we really needed to have a strict rule. There is a weekly review. It's going down. Step number 8 is not fake. There is a weekly review. We have to review things. And I'm telling you, in our organization, if somebody doesn't do a weekly review, sometimes it happens to me as well. On Monday, I am embarrassed that I haven't reviewed things. Like, I am really embarrassed. So people are embarrassed if they don't do the weekly review. And also, development time. I mean, personal development. Like, we have learned so many new things on Fridays. The new technology that we are using right now with Nozbe has been developed on a Friday by one of our developers. Like, it's a thing. Rico, when I make a new project and when I use a section in a project, create a sub project as a new project versus I use a section in an existing project. Can you give some examples? Yeah. So in new Nozbe, we have sections in project, and this is brilliant because usually I prefer to have fewer projects, and then divide things into sections which are all relevant to this project, instead of creating some similar projects. Why? First thing, scrolling is like falling. So if you have access to one project and you just scroll through it, it's just easier to manage. But also, very often the sections are being used also as kind of next steps or next etap, like next part of the project, or sometimes different kind of things. Like, for example, in marketing project, we have a ideas project. So we have a section for agenda for our next meeting. We have a section for reference material. We have a section for collaborations. We have a section for testimonials. Like, we have several sections. But also, always, as I always explain, it's a fluid thing. When you see, for example, that a section becomes too big, move these things to a different project. We just did it. For example, we have a big project called design, and we had a section of things that we have to design, like, so the things that have to be prepared more. And there were so many that Rafa, our project manager, decided, look, let's just move them to a different project. They are cluttering now our main design project. Let's move these things that we know that we have to design to a different project called design spec, and then we move it there. So this way, again, it's a fluid thing. You, as you work with Nozbe or any digital tool, uh, you figure it out, and and you cannot make a mistake. Like if there's this too much, you decide it's too much and you just move it around. If you decide it's not too much, it's perfect. So, and then you create a new section or something. So for me, also, the idea of sections is the idea that uh, this way it's flatter. So I prefer this flat structure of projects, tasks, and comments. um, in many competing solutions like Todoist or others, there you can create sub projects, sub projects, and all that stuff, and it's great. But once you have it created, it's a mess. I don't like this. Uh, I've been fighting like all these 70 years I'm running Nozbe. I've been fighting this idea to have sub projects, so we can group projects together in Nozbe, but we cannot create sub projects because otherwise the structure is just it's not good for getting things done. It's good for having it nicely organized, but to really get stuff done, it's not good. That's why I prefer a flat structure. That's why we like sections, because then we can have a project with just several sections, but still you keep this structure of projects, tasks, and comments, which is the key. And Todd asks about the future of Nozbe Personal. So Nozbe Personal, uh, as we already mentioned, it remains as it is. We believe it's a done product for people who prefer to use it, but new features are coming to the new Nozbe, and but you don't have to migrate to the Nozbe. You can keep using Nozbe Personal. We will keep delivering you Nozbe Personal. We give great customer support for Nozbe Personal users, and we have great Nozbe Personal users who just prefer to use Nozbe Personal because they're used to the way of working on Nozbe Personal. But we are not planning any major features to Nozbe Personal. We prefer to focus on the new Nozbe, and some teams and some people have already migrated to the new Nozbe because they just wanted to have the new features. And I think especially that we have some really cool features planned for this year. They might, but again, if the Nozbe Personal is exactly what you need, just keep using it. Like there is no plans. There are no plans to shut it down or anything like this. No, we announced last year that Nozbe Personal stays as Nozbe Personal. As long as we have customers there, we want to keep it going, and we love our Nozbe Personal customers. Rene asks if there will be no new episodes of No Office podcast. Yes, we are planning new No Office episode podcasts. We've been thinking about the how to structure it, but it's coming. It's coming back. So thanks. Thanks to know that there are still listeners who are missing us. So yes, it gives us more motivation to start. And I love podcasting. I'm as you know, I listen to podcasts. I listen to podcasts when I run, when I'm on a bike ride. So yes, podcasts are great, and I want to keep podcasting and keep using this microphone and this setup for podcasting. Okay, so okay, one more, and I'm gonna finish. So, thanks everyone who's saying thanks and leaving. So, thanks everyone. I'm gonna ask this one. Go with this one. I journal on a task, even on a single employee. It's a great way to know where I was when I was in the when I inevitably have to go put out other fires, and it's a week until I get back to the original project. Look, even if you're a one-person team, using comments feature on a task is important because you're discussing things with the future self. And especially it's really important to journal when there is a task that is recurring, like a yearly or I don't know, bi-monthly or a half yearly task, and you just forgot how you got it done, so you just write it down. So it's like, this is the key. So you should be able to communicate with yourself. So really it's important to learn to journal and to. So Michael, thanks for bringing this up. Really, using comments with yourself, it's not weird, it's good, it's the way to go. So thanks everyone. thank you so much, and thanks for the privilege of being able to serve you, being able to give you this webinar. I'm so excited, and I'm really excited that you were here and asked me so many good questions. And if you have more questions, again, reach out to support@nozbe.com, or just and if you would like to schedule a demo, just go to nozbe.com/demo and talk to Magda, and she will just walk you through, and she will give you a tailored experience of Nozbe for your industry, for your profession, for the way you work. And again, and if you want to contact me directly, either do it via social media or go to support@nozbe.com. They will create a task for me, and they will let you know. So this is the best way to contact me. So again, thank you so much. Have a great 2024, and make it your best year ever.